Israel is arguably leading the world with its vaccine rollout. It was one of the first to approve the Pfizer vaccine and get it into the arms of Israelis. More than half of the nation's 9.3 million citizens have received both doses, leading to a significant drop in COVID-19 cases. We spoke earlier with the I24 news reporter Emily Rose about why Israel has been so successful and what sort of lessons that we can learn here in Australia. Firstly, can you give us an update as to how the vaccine rollout is going across Israel?
Yes, well, the vaccine rollout is going according to schedule. In fact, at a rapid pace. Now Israel is seeing that at least 4.7 million of its 9 million population have received the first dose and 5.2 have received both doses. And it's continuing on an upward trajectory with less than 450 new cases. And that's leading to a newfound freedom here on the streets of Tel Aviv. So truly, Israel is staying on top in terms of its rapid pace vaccination, and it's bearing fruit here on the streets of Tel Aviv.
So why are those numbers so high? Why exactly has the rollout there been so successful?
Sure. So over the course of the pandemic, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cut a deal with the CEO of Pfizer to procure those vaccines very quickly, and he did it in two ways. One, he agreed to a data sharing deal with Pfizer, so data and health data that comes out of the Israeli population is being shared with the company in order to improve the vaccine. And the other is that he paid a premium for those vaccines in order to procure them quite quickly. And that led to a rapid pace vaccination campaign here in Israel. Now, data in Israel is actually collected very quickly. Israelis are all measured on a digital collective health data system. So that information has been vital for Pfizer. It's one of the reasons why they made that deal and agreed to give these vaccines to Israelis quite quickly, and that really bore fruit here for Israel on the streets. It's led to such a rapid pace vaccination campaign, and truly at least 52% now of this population has been vaccinated, with it's looking like even more to come in terms of minors being vaccinated and the like.
Obviously, it's a massive logistical challenge. How were so many shots able to get into so many arms so quickly? Were other agencies like the military involved? Did private companies help speed things up?
So Israel has 4 major health providers, and they all kind of jumped to the pump in order to get those vaccinations into people's arms. They opened up massive tents in the centers of cities. They opened up expos and arenas where they basically just did it like a machine, like factories. We were reporting from the ground in many of these vaccination centers, and they were done quite rapidly. The other thing they did was partner with MADA, Magen David Adom, that's the Israeli version of the Red Cross, who went around with these essentially ambulances to different places like old age homes where people couldn't come to get the vaccines. Well, they brought them to them, and they did a method called 21 twice. They would take the vaccines, administer them, and then come back to that same area in 21 days. And that allowed for people of the elderly population who weren't mobile to get vaccinated. So it was a combination of efforts with the Israeli version of the Red Cross and those 4 major healthcare providers who really worked together in order to vaccinate quite quickly. It was truly miraculous to see when you were watching it play out on the ground.
And by the sounds of it, not all in Israel have been excited by the rollout. How significant has the opposition to the vaccine been there?
So there were 2 major populations in Israel where we saw opposition to the vaccine. There was the ultra-orthodox population, which there were many members of which who initially expressed some opposition to the vaccine, and then much of the Arab sector. And a lot of people attributed that to perhaps a lack of trust between the government and those sectors within the country. There was also some percentage of the secular population who did come out and rally against the vaccine. And to this this day, there are people in Israel who do still refuse to get the vaccine. If we're talking about the way that Israel is opening up now, it's actually provided an alternative option as well for people who don't want to get the vaccine. There's a rapid-paced testing system that's being implemented for people to be tested very quickly. So if they can't get vaccinated or they don't want to get vaccinated, they can still get tested very quickly and thus enter into indoor arenas like museums, like planes, like workplaces, so they can be tested very quickly and be sure that they don't have the illness and infect others. So that's one other avenue that Israel is looking into. Either way, still, if we look at the numbers, it's quite impressive, the percentage of the population that has been vaccinated overall and continues to get vaccinated, as Israel is now looking at vaccinating minors up to the age of 12, down to the age of 12, So that could be coming very soon. Israel is saying it could be coming very soon once the FDA approves that move for safety. So still we could see that vaccination rollout continue to be more successful across the country.